sales activity. Right? They were in the sales leadership role and trying to sell the product of their competitor. At that time, their employee, right? When they were doing this, they realized that how difficult, right, is for the sales folks to use or to sell, right? As simple as that, right? The systems were very arcane, or they were expected to kind of maintain lot of data, key in lot of data, punch in lot of data in the system, because some executives within the organization, the respective organization, might want to see the data, everything, right? And lot of the time that sales folks were spending is not actually selling, right? But rather trying to maintain, collect the data and manage the data, right? And they also looked at the entire across various organizations, the sales processes, right? Every organization is trying to reinvent the same way, right? Meaning they have their own internal systems where they were replicating the sales processes, right? So that's where the idea came from them, that why not we kind of try to standardize this particular process, right? So that people will get more time, right, to sell. Right? Around the same time is what the .net or excuse me .com, right, internet, and so on and so forth, right? It was further evolving, right? Y2K time, Y2K was kind of slowly winding down, and then the next technological innovation has started in the form of internet, www, right, etc., etc. And of course, it also had its own share of .com burst and all, but it was coming up and it was allowing more innovation, right? The more ways to bring the applications, or more ways of doing business, and more ways of enabling business with IT solutions, right? So on and so forth, right? That kind of came about. So that's when this fusion of these two came together, and then came this company called the Salesforce.com. Initially, again, it was it came out in the SaaS model, right? It was very focused on software as a service, meaning the concept of software as a service. If anybody were to ask you, you can tell that, rather than see each one of us have, let's say, I need to track, let's say, expenses, right? Each one may have different ways of doing it, even at a household level, right? So I may use as simple as a notepad, right? Start writing, right? What is my income? What is my expense? Someone may use, a mobile phone and open up a notes or some other app, try to do it, right? Someone else may use as simple as Word document or Excel sheet, right, etc., etc., right? Instead of, here, if you were to look at it, my challenge here is, in doing it, I have to find a vehicle, right, or a platform, or a infrastructure, whatever you want to call, right, where I have to record all my activity, right, my transactions, right? Some of the time goes there, right? Instead, wouldn't it be nice that if everybody were to have an application, or some kind of common way of recording all these expenses, income, and etc., right? So that your time is more focused on more productive activity, right? Of course, it comes with a cost, no doubt about it. But when you think about it from an enterprise model, that is where the power, right? Everybody is ready to spend money, right? Whether you want to build that particular solution in-house, or whether you want to kind of go and purchase it from outside, right? You are going to anyway spend, right? But that is not your true IP is going to be. In some cases, there may be some IP, but not all the time, right? So that is where this concept of software as a service came about, whereby the software was already developed by focused set of companies, and it was made available in whatever way, right? Whether through cloud or on-premise, etc., etc., or even cloud, whether it's a hybrid or a private, etc., it came about, right? So that is a SaaS model, right? Salesforce kind of started with that SaaS model. Within that, they were again focusing on primarily sales, but you can call it as a CRM, right? Customer Relationship Management. At a loosely speaking, it covers marketing, sales, service, right? And it is expanding, right? But at that time, it was more focused on some of those areas, right? And then from there the organization kind of went about expanding, right? Now if you fast forward 23 years, now the company is not identified by their core CRM offering. It is much more than that, right? It is a digital experience platform. It's a connecting the customers, customer in the middle. So you would have a lot of jargons you would hear, but please understand that it all started with those basic concepts, right? So now next thing is this, again this company, right? If you have to understand, right, where they are headquartered, and what is their current revenue. I also saw in one of the chat, somebody's question on the chat window, will Salesforce be there, right? Not in the exact words, but somebody said, what is the future of Salesforce, right? If I were to learn it, right? For all those questions, I would request you go to any financial website. Okay, I have taken one here from Google, right? You can go to any site, whether it is Yahoo or so on and so forth, right? So many. And you should probably kind of go through about the company, right? What this company is about, and who is the CEO, when it is founded, and number of employees, etc., right? So that you get an idea, right? Before you kind of dip into this platform, try to understand how Salesforce started, and where are they now, in terms of their growth model, etc. Simply put, they are roughly about close to 30 plus billion. Right? They keep witnessing very increased and exponential growth, and they are being able to sustain it. They are one of the Fortune 500 company. Many times they have won most number one innovated company to work for. So many accolades they have, right? And this ecosystem is kind of primarily consists of three pillars, right? One is, of course, obviously the customers. Customers are why many of the organization, right? Of course, every organization live for, right? Because every organization's purpose is to maximize the revenue potential, right? So customer is definitely there. Second is as the technology provider, like in this case Salesforce, right? They are continuing to innovate, bring more capabilities on the platform, right? And the third one is which is a very important a part of the pillar. Unlike many other ecosystem and technology, is partner ecosystem. And the partner ecosystem goes into various sub pillars, like they call it as an system integrators or independent software creators, ISVs, and so on and so forth, right? But these are all the key three pillars that come together, that is making this Salesforce ecosystem very strong, right? Somebody may kind of say, why you have missed about the practitioners, Salesforce employees, are you and me, right? It all comes under one of those pillars, right? When I say about Salesforce as a technology, I mean Salesforce employees kind of they are included there. Similarly, when I talk about SIs, system integrators, or independent software creators and ISVs, their employees also kind of included. But those are the three, broadly speaking, three pillars that come together, that is making this platform very successful. Okay, let me take a pause. Any questions so far? Is my voice coming out okay for you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, good. Okay. So the purpose of this particular slide that I had is and also as a action item for you is, after today, just make a note of it. Go to history of Salesforce, this particular link, right? Just read it. It will take you maybe 15-20 minutes. Go and read it, and just be aware of how Salesforce has grown, right? So they have gone from a simple Salesforce sales CRM to much more where we are now, which we will quickly see it, right? Second thing is, how many employees are there, where they are headquartered. Of course, I didn't mention it, but it was there in that this particular link is they are based out of US, right? And their software or their solution delivery model is based on cloud, right? Their product is available on cloud, um, and it is available on public cloud, right? And their revenue is about somewhere around 30 billion US dollar, north of 30 plus, right? Okay. So that is the message I just want you to take. And last but not the least, I said three pillars, right? Salesforce as a technology provider, and customers and partners. Those that comes together as an ecosystem. Okay. Now moving on to the next one, or even before I go there, few other ones that you can probably see so that you can appreciate, right? I talked about that sales cloud and the initial one. From there, I don't want you to memorize this particular one. I know this slide looks little crowded, but it is just to show you the intentionally it is being overcrowded to show you the way that Salesforce has grown, right? This is something that I put together back in 2020, almost 3 years, right? Three and a half years back. And if I were to update it, I mean, it will become even more crowded, although the acceleration, the rate of acceleration has somewhat slowed down in the last 3 years. Okay, what am I trying to show here? Two messages, right? How many Salesforce is kind of now organized into various, they call it as a clouds or a sub clouds, right? So namely sales cloud, you can see here, service cloud, marketing cloud, right? Commerce cloud, community cloud. So it goes on, right? And again, you don't need to memorize it, but try to understand there are about 8 to 9 clouds. If you were to talk to somebody, it is out there, right? Primarily, broken down by the functions that they serve, right? Sales means sales cloud, right? Any customer relationship, customer service management, etc., is a service cloud, and something that you wanted to identify or capture your interest of your potential customers, capture in the form of a prospect, managing your current customers, the relationship, etc. It kind of comes in the form of marketing, right? Marketing cloud, right? And downstream, that once you are engaging with the customer and then you are trying to sell something, right? You need to have something called commerce, right? You need to collect the money, right? Accounts receivable, right? So that comes in the form of a commerce cloud, right? And then behind the scene, now it like a fusion, the Salesforce products have exploded, right? Because of it, you have even among their various clouds itself, you need to pass the data or pass the processes, right? Or do the handoff from one cloud to another cloud, right? Let alone treating external systems, right? Like a ERP system, right? Or any upstream system, right? So there is so much of handoff that is going to happen, right? So to do that, you need what is called as a enterprise application integration, right? So that's covered under integration cloud, right? And it goes on, right? So the message that I want to get or pass on to you from this particular slide is, number one, there are so many clouds, right? And one need not become master of everything. And even now, many of us, at least I can talk from my side, right? From my personal experience, one cannot become a master of everything, right? You don't need to become a jack of all, right? But the awareness that Salesforce product offering, covers in multiple areas like this would be good to know, right? Second thing, how Salesforce has grown, right? I mean, you can see, like I said, their current revenue stands around 30 plus billion, right? 31, 32 billion or whatever, right? And again, the 23 years time that they have kind of gone, they have come here, right? From maybe in initial first 100,000 or first million to here, right? I mean, it's one of the fastest growing, right? Or maybe if not the first, right, to reach certain accolades in terms of revenue and all, right? How did they make it happen, right? The answer is Salesforce very consciously made the decision of growing themselves both organically and inorganically. What do I mean by organic and inorganic, right? By organic, I mean you as an organization, you have your own employees or you have your own extended workforce, right? and then you start building your product or your services, right, from the ground up, and then you start selling it, right? So that is organic growth. When you say inorganic growth, you rather than, I mean, even taking that example of the SaaS model, right? Rather than reinventing the wheel, you look at in the market, I'm trying to build a competency in this area, or I'm trying to build this particular product, right? Maybe analytics space, right? Rather than starting from the scratch, let me kind of look around in the market and then identify somebody who is doing well, right? Or maybe doing great in terms of ideas, or any parameter, right? And then let me go and acquire them, right? Or in some cases you will merge it depending on the strength, right? The relative strength of the both the organization. There could be a mergers or acquisitions, right? So that's why we always have this activity A&M, right? Acquisition and mergers, right? So you go out and acquire, the gap that you have to fulfill that gap, and then expand from there. Start building on top of it, right? So Salesforce has, in one of the very few companies, they have, in my opinion, and mastered, or definitely done very well in terms of managing both, right? Both organic growth and inorganic, like acquisitions, right? So this slide was primarily, I kind of created it to kind of show how many acquisitions happened and how it got related to each of the clouds eventually, and also to show, I mean, some companies try to acquire their competitors and then eventually kill it, right? Just to reduce that competition, right? But when it comes to Salesforce, their intention of acquisitions were very clear. It is not to kill. It is kind of add on, right? It is more like, as we say, right? 1 plus 1 is not just 2, right? It is beyond 2, right? That is the thought process with which Salesforce have, most, if not every time, has operated. Their number of products or companies that they acquired and then they went they retired is very minimal, as you can see. From this red dots here, right? Very, very minimal. You have to kind of count for it, right? Most of these products may have been rebranded, but then they still exist in one form or another, right? So that is the power of again Salesforce and the success secret ingredient behind their success. Okay. And last but not the least on this topic, before I move on to the next one, I talked about the third pillar, right? That partner ecosystem, right? So Salesforce has this marketplace, right? I mean, if you have a, I mean, I'm sure all of us have, either Android or iOS phones, right? And when you need some app, what do, right? We go to an app store, right? Or Play Store, right? And then we go and simply install that app, right? Some apps may come for a price and some may be free, right? Same concept applies here. Salesforce calls their market place called AppExchange, right? AppExchange is the place where anybody can, of course, you have to go through the registration process. You can kind of register to become a player or a contributor, right? In any form, whether you are doing a system integrator role or you are doing this coming up with your own product and you want to sell. This is a platform, right? And I would encourage you to kind of quickly explore this, and you can do a search and filter it through whatever the search term that you want to have. So I was talking about this AppExchange. So AppExchange is the marketplace, right, for Salesforce. You get all kinds of products ready to deploy. Of course, some of them may come with a cost, right? So, but the idea here is that, as I was saying, Salesforce intentionally kind of created this platform to make sure that, of course, the partner ecosystem can also flourish, but then speed to market, right? Because one of the power of Salesforce is, compared to some other, some of their competitors, is you do not have to spend months or weeks in delegation. It should be, definitely weeks, if not days, right? So that is the idea here. You tend to see the platform called low code, no code platform. So that also gives you the, everybody, right? It is barrier to entry. Meaning, I've seen in the chat window, many of you are, new to IT or new to Salesforce's ecosystem. Fear not. It is very easy to at least take the first dip and then start getting into this, involved in the Salesforce platform, and kickstart your career or rejuvenate your career, that is feasible, right? Of course, if you have to go at an advanced level, it may be you need to spend more time and more efforts, but initial barrier to entry is very minimal. Okay. Okay. So now I have already touched on this introduction to Salesforce clouds, right? I mean, you have seen in the form of what I had shared, right? That acquisitions, where I have kind of covered all the various clouds, right? And again, like I said, you don't have to memorize by heart all the clouds, but just remember it in the form of a typical, journey, right? A purchase journey somebody might go through, and then you will very easily remember whether it is marketing to whether it is, sales to service to so on and so forth.